Hey, welcome to 100 Mile Drive, and today I want to discuss what does the BMW DNA feel like to drive. And for that, you don't need a BMW M4 or M5 CS to experience that. This 2022 330i is enough. And if you are shopping for a BMW 3 Series or 4 Series or 5 Series, or even if it's competitors like a C300 or Model 3, well, I'm going to discuss how this car is so different than anything else. Let's get into the video. And if you're watching 100 Mile Drive for the first time, well, this is the channel where I say before you buy a car like this or any other car, you need to rent it for at least a day and drive it for 50 to 100 miles on city streets, highway, and hopefully twisty roads to be able to answer the biggest question I'm answering on this channel: how does it feel to drive? And speaking of this car, we got it as a rental from BMW dealership while our X3 M40i getting fixed its sunroof rattle. So we had it for a few days and I didn't actually plan to record any video, but after spending some time with it, I decided it would be a really good video to make, so here we are. And now a quick 30-second walk around this 2022 330i. Now BMW, thank you for not screwing up the looks of the front fascia. I definitely like how it looks, and please keep this recipe going. Even if it does get updated, I hope these front kidneys don't get too big like on the 4 Series. Now let me know what you think. You like this or you like the new 4 Series? But coming on the side, it's pretty typical of BMW that we know and we like. Now what I do want to touch on is the tire wheel combination in general and my observations. Now this one rides on 225 40 R19 front and rear. This is non-M Sport trim, and what I want to say, I found that the 40 thickness is what I love the most in terms of the comfort, where you hit the bumps and you don't feel like your wheels are breaking, and the looks. It looks pretty good. Now anything lower than that, like 35 and 30, makes the wheel very fragile. When you hit those bumps, you feel like you're gonna break them, and you do break them sometimes. So let me know what you think, but I think this is the best combination in terms of the thickness, and I definitely like the looks and the comfort, like I mentioned. Now the rear looks pretty typical BMW, nothing super excited about this, but you know, and also nothing screwed up here. Like this is what we expect from the BMW. Now let's quickly do a door sound check. It sounds pretty solid. Now I want you to take a listen to what the BMW 5 Series door sounds like. Now have a listen at this door sound check. I think this is another coolest thing about this 5 Series. This door sounds, not even the rear door, I mean. And the camera, of course, doesn't do the justice. You have to listen to this in person. Now let's get on the inside. All right, let's get on the inside. And here I just want to discuss the quality materials of this BMW. Let me go ahead and start it. There you go. Now this is a 2022 model, meaning we don't have that curved screen, so this looks a little bit outdated, but it's more driver focused and I kind of like it. I just wish this screen was a little bit taller, like in our X3 M40i. Now quality materials, they're not super duper high-end quality in terms of like the feel, how they feel, but they're very well molded. I mean, this car just speaks like quality in terms of how nicely everything is attached, how nicely everything is aligned. This is a non-M Sport trim. Of course, the M Sport has a thicker steering wheel, but this is not bad. You know, this is not bad at all. Now, everything is, like I said, very well molded. Nothing creaks. They're not super touch, but you can press against them. You know, some plastic stuff here. Overall, this cabin does not look exciting like a C300 Mercedes, for example, right? But this is a typical BMW we know, and this car is more driver focused. And speaking of driver focusedness, let's go ahead and drive it. And first I'm gonna drive it in the city. So I'm gonna put the car in the drive. We're gonna put it in sport mode. Throw the shifter to the left, so we're in a sport individual, or sport in this standard is in this case is the same. All right, let's go ahead and drive it. Let's do the acceleration, and I hope you can hear how this car screams. All right, so one thing I want to say, that this car has the same 255 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque, exactly the same as the outgoing 2024 model. And this feels a lot quicker, let me tell you that. So even if I stop and then do another acceleration. Let's go. Wow, it even sounds pretty loud. One thing, of course, I would love to see is some burps and some pops, which I did have, by the way, in the 2015 BMW 330i. We had a blue convertible, and that car had really cool little pops. Let's hear it again. Yeah, this car sounds pretty cool, actually, despite being a 4-cylinder. So I'm gonna put it back in regular mode, but still staying in sport for now. Now the response is pretty quick. Of course, when if you floor the pedal from the very beginning, there is a little delay. I think it's a programmatic, but you can figure out how to launch it quickly. Overall, it's very punchy. To me, this car feels very similar to Giulia Alfa Romeo, which is 280 horsepower. Actually, let's hear it one more time. Again, back to S, launch it. Yeah, and very quick shift. This ZF transmission pairs really well in this car. Now let's go ahead and talk about it. So like I said, this car feels quicker. The official 0 to 60 is around 5.6 seconds, but this feels like 5.2 seconds. And one thing, when I mentioned in the very beginning of the video, the BMW DNA, well, let me tell you this 3 Series, the most base 330i, even non-sport, feels such a BMW. Feels so cool, I would say, because I expected this car to be a little bit more like a softer, I would say, a little bit more like that softer blend, but this is all sport. It is more sport than comfort. It is, of course, fairly comfortable, and we're gonna talk about the suspension, but overall the car feels very agile. It feels very maneuverable. It feels very stable. I mean, obviously this is not news for BMW, right? But they so differ like from 3 Series to 4 Series and 5 Series. Not long ago, I drove a 4 Series convertible on this channel, and that car felt more mature, more compliant. Like the way it handled bumps, or it was more observant. Now this reacts more to the bumps. It is more bumpy. Now if you're thinking about comfort in the 3 Series, it is fairly comfortable, but it's not a type of a car that will give you more comfort than sport. This gives you more sport than comfort. And the seats are kind of firm. I mean, they're fairly comfortable, supportive, but they're on the firmer side. So if you want more comfortable seats, then you definitely should go to a 5 Series, which of course a lot more expensive. Now a 4 Series, even though it's almost the same car, but 4 Series somehow feels a little bit more refined. It feels a little bit more, like I said, compliant. And then of course the electric i4, you can watch all these videos on my channel. i4 feels much heavier, and it feels, again, much more compliant as well. Much more like a flowy kind of. This feels very sporty. This feels very, I would even say, aggressive. This car, you kind of want to toss around. This car, it weighs around, what, 3,500 pounds? So it's kind of on the lighter side. And many BMWs, so it does feel more tossable. Now let's talk about steering. The steering in this car also feels, in this comfort mode, now I'm in comfort mode, slightly on the heavier side, but good heavy. Like, actually it's not heavy, just slightly heavier, but it feels very good. Like, you kind of want to steer this, and the car responds instantaneously. I mean, kind of similar to, I would say, Tesla Model 3 that I talked about, but there it's just delivered in a different way. Here you feel more connected. There it feels more like a video game completely. Here you feel a little bit more connected, even though this is also electromechanical steering. But just how you can toss this nose in front of you, like point it anywhere you want, just feels so amazing. So love the steering. And of course in the sport mode, it tightens up a little bit. It's not that noticeable, but the car becomes overall more responsive. Of course, the transmission is more responsive. The engine becomes a little louder, even though it's a synthetic sound. But everything just becomes so alive. And man, and brakes. Let's talk about brakes. this car just stops. This car just stops. There's no shifting forward. There's no moments where you feel uncomfortable. This car just stops, like it's a dead stop. That's it, we stopped. Impressive. And again, we don't have a large M Sport brakes like I have in my X3 M40i, which also stops really impressively. But even these base brakes, I mean, this car just stops. It gives you confidence. You know, all these things I'm talking about, you know, some of you might be sitting there, if you're familiar with BMW products, like, yeah, I mean, there's nothing new you're telling me. But what I'm trying to say, even in this base BMW 3 Series, which is not M Sport, you get all of this. You get this very torquey 4-cylinder engine, you get this really cool steering, you get good brakes, and then next we're gonna talk about the suspension in this car and how comfortable it is. All right, and now I'm driving on my favorite Tampa Avenue where I get to test suspension, and let me tell you this car is sporty comfortable. So it's not comfortable, it is when sport is comfortable. Now, one issue I see is the run flat tires. So all these imperfections, all those minor potholes, everything I'm hitting right now on the road, I can hear the impact of the car with the road, and the biggest complaint is the run flats. Okay, so if you want this car to be more comfortable, I would get this and put, you know, Michelin tires, maybe get a donut tire, or, you know, that kit, the repair kit. Now, if you are a big supporter of the run flats, then this is fine as well. But in my taste, I would definitely put the non-run flats. In fact, I made a video on my car, X3 M40i, what happened to it when I put regular tires and replaced my run flats. The car became a lot more comfortable. So this car has a shorter travel suspension, but everything is set up to the way where you can still enjoy it. So it still feels comfortable. But again, if you're a type of a person who likes kind of Lexus, Toyota products, then 3 Series might not be for you. You might want to look into 4 or even the 5 Series. Now, 5 Series, I made a review on it. Again, I was a loaner that I was given, and I was lucky to have it. And that car is the best blend of sport and comfort. And BMW did a tremendous job, including like good seats, a very powerful torquey B58 engine, super efficient as well. So make sure to watch that video. Now let me just kind of talk about it. What does it feel like in day-to-day driving this car on your local streets, in your local neighborhoods? All right, and now I'm driving in my local neighborhoods. Now this is the 4th day we're spending with this car, and man, it is so easy and pleasant to drive this car in our local neighborhoods. The steering is easy. Nice thing about this car, it's not super low, like a 4 Series is kind of lower. So this way I didn't hit anything like in terms of like driveways, so it was kind of decent, you know. Of course not a crossover like, but still decent height. So I like that. And overall, whatever you do, whether you know, run your errands like for groceries, you have to go somewhere, it's very easy to maneuver this car, and it kind of makes you want to drive it a little bit fast, a little bit more aggressive, right? In a safe way, because anything you do in this car, even at the higher speed, somehow feels safe. And that's the reason, guys, why people drive BMW so aggressively, because BMW's signature is so recognizable, especially when you spend time with them, and if you get a chance to drive different BMWs, even compared to Porsches and Audis, where they have their same signature, unless it's a 911. The Porsche, let's say even the, you know, Cayenne, for example, or Panamera, when you drive it just in your local street or highway, it feels pretty calm. And when you need it, it will feel aggressive. When you want to take fast corners, acceleration, then it'll show its character. But overall, it's a calm car. Now, BMW somehow has the signature that when you drive it even on your local street, it has this a little kind of slightly bouncy, slightly kind of unique character that it kind of makes you want to drive this car aggressively. And of course, when you drive it aggressively, it allows you to do all this, and that's why you see so many bad BMW drivers on the road. So it is hard to explain, but you can certainly feel this. Now let me go ahead and drive it on the highway and talk about, is this a good highway cruiser for long trips? And now merging a highway to see the comfort of this BMW 330i. I am in the comfort mode. And man, this car has enough torque to get you on any on-ramp without any problem. All right, so let's get in the lane. The first thing we want to talk about the sound insulation in this cabin, and it's kind of okay. It's not really, really good. It's not like a really well insulated cabin. It is decent. I feel even my X3 M40i has a better cabin insulation. Now, I also have a meter. Let me look into this. Now we are going 65. Well, according to this, it's not bad actually. It's like 64, I would say, 63, 60, 64. So it's not too bad. But just the overall feel, oh, there's a Lambo. Overall feel like could be better, right? But I guess it's not bad. And of course, there's noise from the tires, although I don't hear that much. Like in some cars, run flats feel really noisy, like in Lexus NX, I felt that. Here it feels okay. I don't feel like it's giving any excess noise from the tires. Now overall, is this car comfortable to drive? Well, if roads are fairly good, decent, then yes. But if you get on LA bumpy roads like a 405 freeway, then good luck. In a sense, I try to sleep. We did few like a little longer drives, like 40 miles or something, and I try to sleep in the passenger seat. And the headrest also is not like really. It is cushioned, but it's like still on the firmer side. So when I try to sleep and we were driving over bumps and all that, so it didn't feel as comfortable. So again, this suspension set up more for sport than comfort, but it does have comfort element in it. So if you're a type of a person who likes sport and you want some comfort, then this car will work for you just fine. It is definitely better than like a Honda Civic or Subaru products. But if you want more sport, but more comfort, but then still some sport, then go for the 4 Series. Try out the 4 Series. And of course, like I said, the best blend is the BMW 330i. Now, the next thing I like to do is try to overtake cars on the freeway just to see what is it the mid-range power feels like. And then here, obviously, it's not an issue. Very torquey engine. You can change a lane, no problem. The steering is super responsive. I love the BMW steering. Now, the fact that this is a sedan, the whole car feels faster, quicker. Like my X3 M40i is a crossover, but it doesn't feel as fast in terms of like changing lanes, in terms of like cornering. And we know why, it's all the physics, right? Unless it's a Porsche Macan that does everything like a car like. But if you want sport, this is the car. This is the pure representation of the BMW DNA. And I'm going to talk about it more on a Twisty Roads, and that's where I'm going right now. And now driving 330i on a Twisty Roads. Let's go. I am in a sport mode. This car sounds fantastic. So this is basically just to see how stable BMW is. What is it like? The reason I say bring your car on Twisty Roads because this is where the character of the car opens up, and this is where you get to experience like what is this car like in like dangerous situations. You know, if somebody breaks in front of you. I say this all the time. So here we are, first corner. Nice. I mean, very well planned. Now we're riding on 225 tires, so of course for better grip and actually cornering, if you're gonna drive a lot on Twisty Roads, you probably want to get M Sport trim to get the wider tires. I'm not going really fast, just to experience. Wow, very stable. The car is so connected to the road. It just sticks on the road. Also, I'm going a little bit downhill, so I don't need more speed to, you know, put the load on the front tires and then see basically how it, you know, handles, how it holds. Wow, really well. I mean, all I can say, this car is super, gives you really, you know, a lot of confidence. Like whatever it does it so confidently, and you even feel this in the lower speeds or if you go higher speeds. Of course, like I said, the only limitation for this car is tires. Like, and even now they're not, you know, squeaking or anything like that. Okay, slowing down here. Yeah. And even if it starts sliding a little bit, it is very flat, nothing unpredictable. Car does not dance. It doesn't do any funky, shaky moves. Yeah. And actually, another thing, I don't need to go fast to hit the limit of the tires, not the suspension. Yeah, but flat, man. This BMW is just such a joy to drive. Such a joy. Now, how is it different than the Model 3, Tesla Model 3, right? Tesla Model 3 uses its battery and you feel there a low center of gravity, so the car feels more kind of like in a center. Even on regular tires, it can take a lot higher speeds than this. This feels lighter, more kind of nimble, different. You know, it's a front engine car, of course, but I can't say that this is less fun than the Model 3 or more fun. They're just different, and this is a lot of fun. Of course, part of the fun package here is, you know, the engine transmission, and it's super responsive. In this S mode, it keeps it in a lower gear, so it's kind of like electric car where it's always at the tap. Yeah, and this 4-cylinder is so potent. It's incredible. It's like, seriously, it feels like a 280 horsepower. Wow. So my point here, guys, is that you don't need M4, M5, like I said in the beginning of the video, to experience the thrills of the BMW DNA. Why? Because in case of 3 Series, 4 and 5, you feel it at every step, and in 3 Series you feel more sport than comfort. So it kind of shows you what engineers are capable of and delivering in the regular BMW. So if you buy a base 3 Series, you're gonna buy a proper BMW, okay? It doesn't have to be an M4, like I said, because M4 is a BMW on steroids, and it's just how engineers executed it really well. So let me go ahead and summarize it, and I'll give you my final feel score for this car. All right, guys, I just finished driving this BMW 330i, and let me tell you this, I enjoyed it so much. Regardless if you're just driving it in the city, you're cruising alone, or you're driving on the highway, or better, take it to the Twisty Roads, you're gonna feel the BMW DNA in everything you do with this car. And this brings me to the point that you can just buy a regular 3 Series, the most base 3 Series, and you're gonna enjoy a BMW experience. And this is what I saw in this car. I really did not expect it to be this much fun. I don't even know what is more fun, this or my X3 M40i. It's not an apple-to-apple comparison. This is just the kind of like speaking of the fun factor. It's literally just from the fun factor point of view. So my final feel score for this car is 8.5. I'm really curious to see how it would ride on the regular tires. I think these run flats slightly deteriorate the experience. Like what we found in days when we're a little bit more tired, or let's say towards the end of the day, when you drive on LA roads, where there's a lot of imperfections, there's a little bit those kind of ticking moments, like, you know, when you sit and you like, those bumps feel a little bit like in your head. Now when you're perfectly fine, you feel refreshed, you don't feel that as much. But when you're tired, or if you have a headache, or you're more sensitive in general, then you're gonna not like this. And of course, part of it is sport suspension, and the other part is the run flats, because all the contact with the rubber is harsher, much harsher. Anyway, I love this car. Let me know what you think, and I'll catch you in the next video.